What hurts like a methodica? Passing kidney stones. My, now 95 years old, father had me rush into emerg at 2 AM one night. Context, I'd just moved back home with him a few months earlier as mom had passed suddenly and he needed help coming to peace with it. Back in 2003. Had no idea what was going on at the time. Other than he was in a crazy amount of pain. How bad? Question mark. That night dad dropped F-bombs and this was a lifetime first ever to hear this language from him. So yeah, I can certainly believe that it's painful. If I had to rely, had my dad's cursing to know whether or not he was ill, he'd never leave the hospital. Migraines. Once had morphine in hospital to get rid of a nuclear one. And I suddenly understood why people were in love with heroin. It went from murderous to 0 in 3 to 1 seconds. Dilated or however it's spelled is intense, especially if they flush the eye right behind it, ducking crazy feeling. Dilaudid. Gallbladder attacks. Gallstones ducking suck. Amen. I kept having attacks and ignored them because I was active duty military at the time and didn't want to be a little bitch who goes to medical for a tummy ache. And after a few months of ignoring attacks at least once or twice a month, my gallbladder gave up entirely. Bitch, doc tried telling me it was stomach acid and I should cut back on acidic foods and then prescribed me Vicodin for my stomach acid. 2 months after that, I finally got my gallbladder removed. Doctor said it stopped working entirely and was just filled with sludgy gallstones. Yes, I know it was dumbass of me to ignore the pain for months for the sake of saving face. My brother knew a guy in boot camp in the Marines who ignored a stress fracture until he was absolutely incapable of walking. If he had come forward earlier, he would have recovered, finished boot camp, then gone on to be a Marine. Because he ignored it for so long, he had permanently injured himself, and they just began the slow process of paperwork required to make him not their problem anymore. Severe burns. Severe burns should be the top answer here. I worked at a foundry earlier in my life and got burned regularly, as bad as everything else is here. There are not too many types of pain where they willingly put a person into a coma to deal with the pain. 1600C applied directly to my ankle/Achilles has given me a permanent limp. That was a severe burn on sub 1% of my body. I have a healthy fear of burning. It scares the duck out of me. Foundries look like terrifying places to work in. Doesn't help that I've some of those videos where accidents occur. Man, you asked the right man. Currently going through one mean ducking stomach virus after eating what I reckon was bad fish. This ain't fun. My whole body hurts. I can't stop throwing up. It's coming out both ends and in shaking. I've been through one of these 2 years ago, and this one ain't as bad, but it's kicking my ass. You'll pray for me, folks. It's gonna be a long night. Edit, much better this morning. Holy shit. Last night was a complete trip through hell. Stretching your legs the wrong way when you're laying in bed and you get a wicked Charlie horse. Bonus points if it happens while you're fast asleep and you wake up in pain you are too tired to understand. Any additional points if you wake up to one and then about 20 minutes later you wake up to the other leg getting one. Abandonment. We have a winner. But remember, if they leave, it's about them, not you. Unless you're a cunt. Getting on a plane while having blocked sinuses. A couple of years ago, when I was living in Spain, I made the dubious decision to fly home from the UK when I was just at the last stages of having a cold. On the flight, I was sitting across the aisle from this amazingly cute girl who was a fashion journalist. She was working on a laptop that I kept casually glancing at. I'm nosy like that. Anyway, I was giving her the eye. She was giving me the eye. We are vibing. All is good. I decide that when we land, if we both wind up at the train station, I'll ask her if she wants to grab a drink while she's in town. Perfect. Flawless plan. Then we started our descent. Cut to me 2 minutes later, rocking backwards and forwards and pressing the sides of my head together with all the strength I could muster because it was the only thing that made it feel slightly less like my brain was going to explode. It was the worst pain I've ever experienced. I genuinely thought I was going to pop like that dude from Scanners. By the time I recovered, she was long gone, and besides, I think watching me go into meltdown would have been a hard first impression to break. clam jammed by my own sinuses. Man. What a world. Clam jammed. This is my new favorite term. Dental abscesses. They are a methodica. Saw a guy once, and his whole lower left jaw was swollen. Fuck. Now I walloped him. Sciatica. OMG yes. Experiencing this now for the first time. My entire left buttock and leg hurts, as does the lower half of the left side of my back. Oh my god, thanks someone mentioned it. I went to a physiotherapist and she basically just applied pressure to where the issue was. And I kid you not, I was almost pain free after a couple rounds. Try it out. For me it was my lower left buttock. Take a sturdy small object and have someone apply pressure until you feel a release. Exclamation mark. You know when you've hit the spot. Ruptured my bicep muscle clean from my forearm. I could feel it rip and a loud pop sound as it happened. Had a large gaping hole where my bicep was and it rolled up into my armpit. That hurt like a methodica. I was next to a huge dude at the gym and he popped his bicep. I heard it. It sounded like a window shade going up. He started crying. He was a seriously tough guy and he was crying like a baby. I'm sure the pain is immeasurable, but I imagine some of that crying is due to the realization that you're ducked. I've been working out nearly a year now, and I fear the day I injure myself to the point of having to start over. Has anyone else said endometriosis? Not enough people acknowledge the level of pain this brings. Endometriosis and its bitchy sister adenomyosis. I have PCOS and assumed adenomyosis can only be diagnosed after a hysterectomy, and I'm a puddle when I ovulate. I've passed a kidney stone and the pain is similar. However, I got morphine for my stone and several docs have just told me to alternate acetaminophen with NSAIDs for my lady issues. It doesn't work. I have to take off work for the pain. Women's reproductive health care is a joke. Dislocating a kneecap, almost ripping off your fingernail, and being shocked come to mind. Dislocating a kneecap. 34 here. I fear the day this finally happens to me, because I've come so close so many times. Banging it against the door frame, while going over the dog gate, against the banister in the attic, etc. Worst was one time early last year, when I was taking the trash barrels back in, and apparently part of my body spun around too fast, while the rest stayed put. I felt a fire in my left knee, the likes of which I had never before experienced, and just stood there for a good 2 minutes while a spectrum of light unknown to science flashed before my eyes. No screaming. It was the kind of pain so searing that you can only wait in utter silence and stillness as you pray to whatever God will listen for it to end. Once you dislocate it once, the next few days the paranoia of it happening again is terrifying. There are even times where your knee jumps for a second, and you nearly shit yourself thinking how close you came to it popping out again. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.